up, y'all? This is your girl, Nemia Carnese, with another edition of She is Nemia's High Heels and Lipstick Conversations, where we have topics for the mature woman, the grown-ass woman, the seasoned woman, from every walk of life. We aim to uplift, empower, educate, and encourage the woman within, mind, body, and spirit. So let's get to it, y'all. It's High Heels and Lipstick Conversations with your girl, Nemia. Come on and tap in.
Hey, it is another episode of High Heels and Lipstick Conversation. Come on in and agree with me for a minute. We're going to give some time for some folks to come on into the room. I think it's on a Sunday. What notice? They only get one day to shine. The rest of the week is mine. And I find you with the sign that the opposite yet to find. So come along and I'll lead you the right way. Slap your hips in the lips. I'll say, come. Come on into the room. Come on into the room. This one here for me and my I got the power to spit out and devour at the same time. I'll beat you up with a rhyme, but I'll let you slide because you accidentally climbed on the wrong side. Now come on, that's suicide. Hypothetically speaking, I'll take like second to know what you're doing. You're doing town, you're looking around. For another day to ruin, and it's me doing well. I'll be damned. I might as well tell you who I am. I'm in the capital LYTE, and then shot it over one you're mocking. And yes, I've been watching me like the facts in the back, to see that you're right. But you can't be what you're not, so you better start with what you're not. All right, y'all. Come on into the room. Listen, if you are entering into the room on this evening, the building onto this evening, I need you to let me know that you are here. It is your girl, Nemia Carnese, with another episode of High Heels and Lipstick Conversation. Listen, this is going to be a good topic on tonight. I already feel it. I got some ladies waiting backstage. They're ready to get going. We are talking about the rise of hoe culture on tonight. It is guaranteed to be a good topic. I got some ladies that are checking in tonight. They got some shit to say and they gonna say it. And so listen, before we get into our topic, I got to let you know, listen, if you have never checked in before, maybe you're here to support one of the ladies on this evening. You want to know what High Heels and Lipstick Conversation is all about. Simply put, it's just conversation, dialogue amongst grown women, all right? So we talk about topics that are significant to us, that, we want to talk about. So it's just grown women's conversation. I do want to give a disclaimer. I give this disclaimer every time I come before you, that the thoughts and opinions that are expressed on tonight are our very own. They're my own. Everything that I say tonight is either opinion, a thought, an expression that I myself own. I'm not here representing any organization. I'm not here representing any company that I'm affiliated with, that I have been affiliated with, or I will be affiliated with in the future. I think I can speak for the ladies when I say the same, that they're here expressing their own thoughts and opinions. So listen, that's what we're gonna keep that. Listen, if you are checking in, I see a few people in the room. I need to know you're here. If you're one of my ladies, my lovelies checking in, put some kissy lips, some high heels, some lipsticks in the chat. Let me know that you are here. If you are a brother checking in, you want to know what tonight is all about, I need you to put some arms, some fists up, something in the chat to let me know that you are here on this evening. And get ready for some real dialogue. Yeah, I know I gotta make sure that I'm all set up, that I can see the conversation, I can see your comments on this evening. So I really want y'all to be a part of this conversation. I think it's an important conversation, and we got some stuff to say about the rise of hoe culture. Um, yeah, so put those in the, not the private chat, but put them in the open chat for me. Put those in the open chat and check in with me on this evening. Listen, okay, before we get into the topic, y'all know I always say this, that I make observations on social media throughout the. Thank you for checking in on this evening, Mrs. Shepherd. Thank you for checking in. I appreciate your support on this evening. I hope you can be a part of this conversation. Let us know how you feel on this evening. I see a few more ladies coming into the room. I see some folks coming into the room. The room is filling up a little bit. So let's go ahead and kickstart this conversation. But listen, I want to say this first. Listen, okay, so listen, tonight I had to make me an adult beverage. Okay, so tonight this is just not water in my cup on this evening. I had to make me an adult beverage, okay? But I do got my water here. So listen, today I feel like it's a mind your damn business Monday, okay? A mind your damn business Monday. Why do I say that? So today, all the hoopla has been centered around, at least for the last couple of days. Listen, there's so much going on in the world. Let me just start here. There's so much going on in the world. We've had another shooting in Jacksonville, Florida, to be exact, a racially motivated shooting where a white man walks into a Dollar General and he pulls out his gun. It's captured on video. It's on CNN and some of the other news outlet, and he goes in with the intent of harming, killing Black folks. So there's a lot going on in the world, but somehow shit like that, this is what pisses me off, okay, about social media. Sometimes stuff like that, for us, especially as Black people, it gets glossed over. It doesn't make the headway. I tend to think we're now desensitized to a lot of that, and that's by design. But the thing that makes people their feathers ruffled and gets them all up in the tizzy is shit like Steve Harvey and his wife. Okay. So all today, yesterday, over the weekend, there's been a lot of talk, debate, back and forth on social media about Steve Harvey and his wife. And this is why I say it's a mind your damn business Monday. Okay. Mind your damn business. Listen, we don't know those rumors to be true. The rumor is that Marjorie, his wife, cheated on Steve with the bodyguard, with the chef, somebody or another. I don't know. I don't even know the full story. But people have been so up in arms about this story, this rumor, and it's a rumor. I will say that they came out. Steve came out in his own way. He was a part of this Invest Fest in Atlanta, Georgia, yesterday or over the weekend. He came out on stage. There's clips of the video that are circulating social media saying, y'all find something else to do, but we fine over here. That was his word. So he didn't address it head on, but he did tell folks, find something else to do. Marjorie made a post on social media, Instagram, saying that we usually don't address these rumors, but it ain't true, basically, in so many words. So they're coming out as a couple and telling you the shit just not true. Okay. But one thing that I don't want to say that surprises me about social media, but it's so funny to me is that we have so much going on in the world, but these are the things that we as a people tend to focus on. We love salacious gossip. We love to be in folks' business. We love to see folks' marriages fail. We love to see, I told you she was a hoe. People, a lot of men got up in arms, like, he done wrote a whole relationship on a book and been in other folks' marriage and see, look what happened. and the rumor is turning out to not to be true. Now, some people will argue that they're just trying to cover it up. That they're in jeopardy of losing their bag, their money if it comes out to be true. Whatever the case may be, mind y'all damn business. This is what's wrong with us now. We put our focus and attention on the wrong shit. And it's just like Keke Palmer and her little boy toy boyfriend, whatever he is, baby daddy. Okay, people were all up in arms about her going and partying with Usher and what she had on, and she's supposed to be a mother and how she's represented, and they went through this whole breakup online, and Keke did a whole video with Usher. And as of today, she has a whole post on Instagram where her and the boyfriend, the ex-boyfriend, supposedly ex-boyfriend, are sitting down having a conversation about her birthday and Virgos and all of this. So y'all did all that. Y'all did think pieces. Y'all did y'all podcast centered around Keke Palmer and how wrong she was. People had all these opinions, and they sitting on social media talking about her birthday because she just turned 30 together. Mind your own damn business. As you can see, we get so wrapped up in celebrity lives and all that, and they are minding the business that pays them. And we getting upset, we fighting each other, we going back and forth on social media, and these two are sitting down laughing at everybody else. They've monetized off of the experience. This should teach y'all to mind y'all that. We get so caught up in celebrity lives when they're nothing but people themselves, and they go through. Mind your own damn business. That's all I got to say. This is a mind your own damn business Monday. Okay. Ew. Okay, listen. I said all that to say we got some shit to talk about, and we're gonna talk about it. Okay. So I got some ladies backstage that gonna talk about the rise of the hoe culture. Okay. I'm gonna preface this before I bring the ladies on stage, right? So we may not all agree, okay? We all have differences of opinions. We have different perspectives, and I'm not looking for any of us ladies to necessarily agree on today. But I do want to talk about with the ladies whether or not, just a couple of different things, where this whole culture came from. I had an interesting conversation. I had a young lady that asked me about today what my topic was today. And so we're going to dig a little bit into this. And one of the things, an interesting comment that she made, which I find to be true, is that hoe culture has always been here. It's just more prominent now. It's just more of the norm. So we're going to talk a little bit about that, like where this all stems from. Has hoe culture always been here? We're just going to dig into it. But I do want to share a video, okay? I want to share a video before we get started, and then I'm going to bring the ladies on. I'm going to let them introduce themselves, and then I want to get some reaction. I think my little thing is going out, but I want to get some reaction to this video, okay? So give me a moment to share my screen with this video. And listen.
I'm looking sexy, I'm looking fine. No broke boys, that was my time. My thoughts showing my booty, poking my pussy where I put penny line. Get on me so you know it's wet. Sexy. I never heard that my coochie wet. It's the best. I ride dick and I throw it back. On the way, but it didn't know what to do with that.
Move out my way. Where my man at? Oosh. Oh, baby, I'm gonna miss you so much.
So where you been at?
No, shit, I'm just trying to. I miss you. What you got to do today?
Well, bad. With your bad self.
I'm in bed.
Let me show you how to do it.
Oh yeah, teach me how to put that ball in my hole.
You know I got a long stick. I don't. Do something.
I'm gonna learn like this. One, two.
I'm finna shake this ass, cause my bills is loose. You know I got that good cat, this coochie ain't loose. He ate my ass in my tri-car, cause Suki got that juice. I'm fucking Kayla man, and I'm fucking Kiki too.
What's the asshole?
Hood bitch, I fuck like a pro. Nutted all in the eyes, nigga though. When I fuck a nigga, I fuck him on the low. Cause
Okay. I just want to start off with that because I'm going to allow the ladies to introduce themselves, and then I'm going to bring all the ladies on the stage and get their reaction to that video. So come on in the room, ladies. Come on in the room. How are you this evening? Welcome, ladies. Welcome to High Heels and Lipstick Conversations.
Hey.
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 Listen. This is a hype conversation on tonight. Okay? I know y'all all prim and proper and pretty. Okay. And I get it, but listen, we're going to dig into some conversation. I want to start off by allowing you ladies to introduce yourselves one by one. I'm going to start with Makoya. Introduce yourself. I'm going to put the spotlight on you, and then tell me a little bit about why this conversation tonight is important for you. And then we're just going to go into the conversation, get your reaction to the video, and then just go into some conversation, okay?
Okay, my name is Mokeya. Everyone calls me Mo. I'm a mother, a grandmother, a wife, and everything else. But one of the main important things is that I mentor a lot of young girls, and speak with a lot of young ladies. And the whole culture is real, and some of it I think is a little blown out of proportion, and some of it's not. I think that society has lacked in decorum in which how we view ourselves and the things that we do. So I just think it needs to be some kind of medium so that we can learn to respect ourselves.
Okay, so you think we need a medium to where we can respect ourselves? Don, I'm gonna go with you next. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Son, wife, mother, and this conversation was important to me because I wanted to talk about the double standards of this whole culture.
Come on now, talk about the double standards. Okay. Okay. And I'm gonna go to Andrea. Oh, I'm sorry. I took
Adrian. Oh,
Andrea.
there's Andrea. Okay, I thought you meant me. I'm like, I didn't see her.
Hello. I am Andrea Lauren, coming to you from Charlotte by way of Indianapolis. And the topic of this whole culture is an important conversation to me because one, I am a woman. Two, I'm raising a young woman. And I want to get into where are the fine lines? Like, where is it that we understand that we as women can own our sexuality and we are no longer confined to marriage, one man? We're recognizing we have the ability to have our consent be given, or removing our consent, versus the vulgarity of having no couth and just saying whatever comes to mind, showing whatever comes to mind, and not leaving anything sacred into the imagination. So that's why the conversation is important to me.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you for being here. I do want to go to Kimberly, or Shay, as we call her, and go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Shay. Don't be using my government. No, I'm just
don't use your government. Okay.
So I'm coming in all the way from Atlanta by the way of Gary, Indiana. So I am pretty much I'm with the whole culture to a certain degree. I feel like it's always been around. It just looks different. And like the previous young lady said, it's just about defining that and refining that and making it where it's not so vulgar. Just having a little bit of decorum about yourself. So I'm with it. So let's talk about it.
Let's talk about it. Shay says she's with it. Okay. And then finally we have Dr. Adrian Little, who is a therapist. Go ahead and introduce yourself, Doctor.
Hey y'all. Yeah, I'm Dr. Adrian Little. Adrian is fine. I am a clinical psychologist. actually a clinical mental health counselor and a pre-licensed clinical psychologist. Been in the field for about 20 years, and this topic is really important to me as a intersectional, sex positive, feminist practitioner. I am here for people embracing their sexuality, embracing their ability to see their bodies the way they want to see them. And as far as hoe culture goes, I think that the transactional nature of sex and money has always been present, from biblical times to now, whether it's do your wifely duties and I'll be a provider, that's just money and sex, being exchanged. And so the idea that now these women are speaking it out and saying out loud that this transaction needs to be beneficial for me if we're going to make that transaction, I'm here for it. I just think that we need to, instead of just talking at women and calling them out, we need to listen to them and call them in with love.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you. I like that. I like that. Okay, so we got a comment straight off. Jacinta says that hoe culture, it's definitely a double standard. It's cool when they do it. So I want to start here, ladies. And please, if you are in the chat, please make yourself known. Please, we would love for you to add to the conversation. And I ask that you would openly put your thoughts and your perspectives in the open chat, so that we can gather your thoughts and we can respond to your thoughts on this evening. So I'm going to start here because you saw a little bit of the video that I shared. That video last week was making a lot of rounds. It was evoking a lot of emotion out of people. It's trashy. Is this? Is that? And I chose that video because these two ladies, as of recent, have been two of the ladies. And if you don't know those two ladies, is Sukiana. She is this reality show star. We saw her in Love and Hip Hop Miami is where we first saw her. And then Sexy Red is known for this Pound Town song that's come out. And my daughter in love tried to play that song for me. And I'm like, what the hell are they talking about? I don't know nothing about Pound Town. But these two ladies kind of represent often what we see the negatives of this, like kind of what we call hoe culture, or they represent it. They're very vocal about their sexuality. I've even seen Sukiana say personally that she is she's an adult entertainer, and that's what she does. That's what she, that's her whole persona. And so we see that, and there have been good responses and there have been bad responses. And each of you have your own perspectives about hoe culture and why it's important to you, and why the topic on this evening. So I just want to get your reaction to those two ladies. Let's start the conversation there. What do you think about those two ladies and their representation of women?
Well, I'll say this. It kind of sucks that either of them ever gets on a trendy beat. Like, because I feel like in general, like, we as a whole don't really want to like give into that, but then they put it on a little catchy beat, and then you can't even get it out. Like, I don't want to admit that I can say the words that are actually in the song of Pound Town. Like, I actually know them because the beat was kind of catchy. I'm cleaning up, vacuuming, and you're like, Pound Town. God dang it. They got me. Like, right. So it really, I don't even know that it's definitely a matter of people not realizing what they're feeding into themselves in general. It's because literally, I don't purposely play that song. I don't go to, it's not on a playlist I own. Right. I don't think I've even liked a song or a reel or a post that has a song on it, because I know how the algorithms work. Once you like one, everything that comes up in your feed is gonna have this song. You know what I mean? So it's like, so that's the first thing. It's like I hate that I even like the beat.
Yeah, it's the beat that catches.
Catchy.
Yeah,
Yo, it sneaks up on you
My
like a
booty hole
ninja.
brown. You can't help it. You can't
yeah.
help it.
And then if you think about it, as vulgar as it may sound, the shit's factual.
Like your booty hole is brown.
Now I never heard the song. I have heard snippets of it, but I don't even listen to today's music. I'm not even gonna lie. And I heard my daughter, my husband had said that my booty hole brown and my coochie is pink or something. I'm like, I just
Yo,
no.
all jokes aside, the person who introduced me to the song was a dude.
Yeah.
He started saying the words, and I'm like, why did that come out of your mouth? Why?
Yeah, see.
Why did you finish that sentence, sir? He's like, nah, you gotta. Why are you hyped to show me the song?
Yeah.
I just wonder what happened to just like sharing stuff like that between like your friend circle. Like, why does it have to be in the music? But then I almost feel like hypocritical because I'm like, I like WAP. Like,
Yeah, I like that too.
That's because WAP is secretly for 40+ women, you know. Like,
Yeah.
But also, okay, that's a good point about WAP because I do. That's my jam. It's also it's the delivery because when you listening to WAP, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that people don't have their stereotypical issues with Cardi B and how her music was. A little bit of Meg Thee Stallion, right? But when you listen to their voices, you have people have sort of like a respect for them as female rappers. Whereas if we can be candid on this, on this live, when you hear Sukihana and Oh Girl, they sound ratchet. Like
they look ratchet.
They look ratchet. They sound ratchet. Whereas you got
I'm
Meg
here
Thee
for
Stallion
it.
and Kylie. You know what I'm saying? You got Meg Thee Stallion and Cardi B. They got B faces, Beyonce hair, their custom designed clothing. Whereas it looks like, Sukihana and whatever Red, like the other chick,
Sexy Red
might have jazzed up a little something from Rainbow. You know what I mean? So it's like,
so the presentation
Dang, how
more
we
acceptable
going
to us
elitist
coming
now,
from.
huh?
right.
It's from women that we can identify with, I guess. If you
I
feel
think
like
that's
identify
what
with
it is.
that woman, is you're more receptive, even though the message is pretty much the same. You're more receptive to it. But to me, there's a deeper conversation with that. I feel like some of this is by design. When you look at social media, when you look at music and what they push this type of hypersexual, hyper-violent music to our youth. So some of it I feel is by design as well.
Not only do they push it to our youth, but they push that image of us out there as Black women
to the world.
And that's what I was gonna say, because I just recently, I am the only woman of color where I work. As the only Black woman, as the only Black woman, and when they try to imitate us, or white folks,
it's always ghetto. It's always
right.
attitude.
And that's the part that they wanna. Oh, I'm hip. I'm this, and I know this, and I know that. That's what you rather push because of who I am and what I stand for, and I am the cradle of all civilization. This is what you'll rather see because you're more intimidated than me. So you're gonna see this heifer with this hair and all this ghetto-ness, and this is what you want to entune Black women to be. That's the only part of it I hate. Now I like it, and I like the tune and the catchiness, but is done to make us look bad, in my opinion, in corporate America, because this is what they want to show you when they talk about Black women. When I'm the only one in the space, this is what you want to talk about.
Yeah.
White people,
it's no secret that we are in corporate America by and large, because we're the most educated, the most this. So it's an alternative. Right. Let's push this image of Black women out there, because at the end of the day,
that's what you want to show. Especially what was that other one when she was in Britain and she was all the queen and you want the king to what's that prince? Somebody, she want her booty ate or something like that. That's the part that they want to show, because they want to me, emasculate us, to put us down because Black women are it. Now that's the only part of the media that I hate.
And
But I mean,
issue,
I like ratchetness, but they only putting it out and making it seem like this is who we are as Black women. You rather show us as this and not as that.
And like,
Go ahead, Dr. Adrian. I think she wanted to say, we're going to come
Yeah,
back to
I think there's definitely a element of supply and demand to this too that we have to acknowledge. I mean, the music industry, yes, there's systemic issues and agendas, hidden agendas, of course, but I think a lot of it is, what are we interested in consuming as consumers, and what can we do to vary the choices that our kids have in terms of music? You know, we can't just tell them don't listen to, you know, X, Y, or Z. We have to have the responsibility of exposing them to a variety of genres of music, so this isn't the only form of representation out there, and so that we start putting our dollars into a variety of experiences of music for our youth and for ourselves.
Yeah.
But I also think too, well, two things. It is the two young ladies are more so attention by any means necessary, right? Because at the end of the day, negative and positive is getting them their coins. It's getting them their views. It's getting them their clicks. It's getting them their shares. We are talking about it. You know what I'm saying? So it's, for them, any publicity is good publicity. But I don't think it is just to affect the Black community. It gets us talking. It gets us mad at each other. It does that. But if you think about it, even in terms of like welfare, it is a known fact that the most people on welfare are white women, right? Mm-hmm. So at the end of the day, while I'm not saying nobody's emulating them, I see more white girls emulating them in their behavior than I personally see Black girls or Black women. I personally do not come across, I come across more people that will emulate, like we talked about earlier, we talked about WAP, right? I see more people emulating Cardi or Megan than I do Suki and Sexy Red.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, everybody want to be Black till the cops come.
Okay. So this is a good segue, because one of the comments in the private chat says, it was an older lady that told me, you ain't a hoe until somebody know. Okay. So my question is is the hoe culture, because you made a good point, Andrea, is hoe culture real or is it imagined? Right? Like, is it, and when I say imagined, is it, we see the images of Sukiana and the Sexy Reds and we hear it in the music, so we think it's real, but you see people like Cardi B, Meg Thee Stallion, or whomever you want to name, they monetize off it, but at the end of the day, like Cardi B, we know for a fact Cardi B going home and taking care of a husband and some kids.
Mm-hmm.
So is the whole culture real or is it imagined, you think?
And something else that was in the chat too was that Sukiana isn't like that. And honestly, I just probably about a week or two before, you invited me to join the live, I'd actually just watched an interview with her, with Jason Lee. So for anybody that doesn't know who Jason Lee is, he is the owner and podcaster, radio personality of Hollywood Unlocked.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I love, slightly addicted to watching his interviews. And he interviewed her, and Sukiana really did. She talked very intelligently. I mean, don't get me wrong, she had a little ratchetness thrown in there, but she wasn't talking like that song. She wasn't on his live being vulgar and profane and just kind of disrespectful outwardly or even towards herself. She was really on there admitting, like, yes, I do whatever I need to do to get my bag. She admitted that. It's known that she's been an adult entertainer, like all of that. But she's like, but at the end of the day, I'm trying to take care of my kids. Like, I'm going home to my kids. I'm trying to make sure they're good. Like, at the end of the day, if it don't take care of my kids, it ain't for me.
Yeah, I can't say it's even an either or situation, because situations like you said with Cardi, she's going on home to her husband and kids, but then you have people like Sexy Red, who's like, I'm up for whatever, you know what I'm saying? Like, you can't categorize me, you can't put me in a box, I am who I am. I'm gonna screw who I want to screw, that type of situation. So I think people like, Cardi B or whomever might have, their own families and stuff to go home to. I think they promote those types of things because it's popular, not necessarily because that's, it's like a do as I say, not as I do situation.
I mean, let's be real. Future, all he does is talk Percocets, Molly Percocets. That man don't do no drugs and barely drinks. But y'all out here just cheap, just following. Oh yeah, let's party. Let's pop these prescription drugs. We don't know what they do. We don't know the side effects of medication.
And they are
sex sales.
Insane. That doesn't mean that's who they are in real life. So again, is hoe culture real? Or is it imagined?
I know hoe culture real.
Real.
Hoe culture is real.
It's real. So this
everybody
is what I think.
has a hoe phase.
Yeah.
Most people. I won't say everybody. Most people.
Everybody goes through a hoe phase. And I mean, if we being honest, way back for, way back when.
Before Jesus touched it.
Before Jesus got to us. Based on
and I have heard about it, but it was before the internet. But I mean, I have 3 girls, and I'm very realistic with my daughters, and I talk to them early. My thing is this: y'all in an age now where you don't want to do nothing where it's a video and it's some pictures because you need deniability. And the other thing is, a lot of this stuff is entertainment, and so once that you get to a certain age, it's entertainment. I just feel like as women, and if you have daughters or nieces or young ladies who you talk to, be like, this is entertainment. They're getting paid for this. This is not actually who they are. That's how my thing is. I really don't care what you do, but have some decorum about yourself. It's just got to the point now to where it's vulgar. Because if any woman ever tell you that she ain't been a hoe or been a whole phase or did something, that she lying. I mean, I'm gonna be 52 this year. So in the 90s, it's whatever you said. I could deny it because you ain't got no pictures.
We don't got what I'm saying? Videos, McClaya.
That's what I'm talking about. Now, just don't get caught. But I can't stand people who are like all holier than thou, and now you in the church and you forgot that. You know what I'm saying? I mean, everybody do it. My thing is just don't be vulgar with it.
That's what we used to. That's our generation.
Hold on,
ladies. Let me direct this comment to Dr. Adrian, because I hear what you ladies are saying, but it's hoism and hoe phase isn't subjective, though.
No.
My thing
the reason it's not subjective is because everybody knows what
let me let Dr. Adrian answer, and I'll come back to you.
Sorry, y'all. I be having a hard time jumping in. Y'all saying so many great things. I have, but I think that if we look at whole culture, it is definitely a real phenomenon. If because there's a movement that people have embraced, and they're openly saying that they are embracing their sexuality. They're rejecting a lot of the societal norms about respectability politics and about what a woman should and shouldn't do with her body. It is a strict movement. People are saying, I'm gonna get like Andrea was saying, I'm gonna get my bag, and if I have to use some coochie to do it, like Cardi said, I let him get what he want. He buy me East Saint Laurent. Like, this is the transactional nature of this relationship. And I think it's always been there. It's always been one of those things. But I think that right now we're in a period of time where women are saying, this is what I want to do with my body. This is how I'm going to use it, and deal with it.
Yeah. So hoism, the whole phase has always been there. I think back to, so I'm dating myself, and I don't care because I embrace my age. I'm a Gen Xer. So my era of hip hop and music and culture, or what people would have thought was hoe culture, was the Little Kim era, right? Like, I used to get feels from it. Now I throw lips to the shit. And so that, when she came out with that music, it was like, oh my God, who talks about sucking dick? Like, what woman Okay, but so that was our era. But listen,
But it didn't
what
start
am I
there.
talking about when you had Shirley and Barbara? Shirley was calling Barbara and like,
As a woman,
listen, as a
The
woman,
woman.
listen, Shirley may have did it and finessed it in a different way, but she was still saying, listen, I'm with your man. I've been hoeing with your man. Like it was just brought, it was in a different way. So again, it's always been there. It's just now I think more so it's the norm. Like back in the day, it was pushed to the side.
Honestly, I think it's always been the norm, though. It's always
Millie
been the norm.
Jackson, she was something else.
It's
Millie
only that
Jackson been
it's more vulgar in
Loud.
the way in which it is spoken about or expressed in music. Because even in Janet Jackson, if I was your girl, the things I do to you, and she says, "You're smooth and shiny, feels so good against my lips." She's talking about sucking dick.
I mean, you know what? It was, but
And
to me, I
and
mean, it
again,
was
it's
just
because it's the way that the message is presented. It's presented softer. It's presented in innuendos. It's presented more ladylike. You know what I
I
mean?
think
Now that
it
we've
more
got
to
it
the
to, you said
imagination.
what?
It was more to the imagination back then. I mean, because now I'm a little bit older, so mine was me so horny, and she swallowed it. Now she swallowed it because she could swallow a whole bunch of things, but you knew what it was. I mean, to me, that was the dirtiest it was back then. Was she swallowed it?
No, but you don't remember Agnelli? Well, you can lick it, you can stick it, you can taste it. I'm talking
Oh yeah,
every drip drop.
I
Don't you
think that was
waste it, baby. Surf it up. It's enough to
yeah,
fill your cup.
true. That's
She's
true.
talking about drinking somebody's nut.
Yeah, yeah,
That's
yeah,
what I'm
yeah.
saying. Like,
I
but
mean,
she's not.
but she didn't. She didn't say it. I mean, you knew it.
That's
See,
why.
my
That's
thing
why I
is,
said it. Whole culture has always been around. It's always been
I mean,
there. It's just
you
that
know
the
what?
way that it's wrapped and handed to us
It's presented differently.
is
Yeah.
It right.
presented. Because.
That's the whole thing. My whole thing is let's not. I'm as as a woman. I'm gonna say this, and as a mother now, I'm not mad. I'm just saying I don't care if you do it or whatever. How take control of your body, do whatever it is that you want to do. But at the end of the day, just have a little bit more respect for yourself. That's it. Because we're lax on the respect part. You can do whatever it is you want to do. You want to wear your butt out, your boobs out. I don't care. Dress how you want to dress. Just know what comes with that.
So here's the question. Here's the question. Maybe it isn't holism that's really subjective or objective. Maybe it's respect because they don't feel like they're being disrespectful. They really don't feel like what they're saying or how they're acting has anything to do with respect because they're like, I'm doing it to me. I'm not doing it to you. I've done no harm.
Yeah. This is the one
I'm not saying I agree, disagree, or whatever, but I just wonder if that respect in itself is changing.
And I think a lot of times when we look at it, we're coming at it, even the language we're using, we're coming at it from a space of of judgment, of saying that, this is uncouth or this is too far, this is too much. And who are we to say, what these women can do with their bodies and how they can show them and whether it's good, bad, or in between? It's their truth as long as they're being authentic. And that's the problem I have with it is that sometimes women are not taking into consideration all the implications of making these choices and of being seen in this light. Yes, I'm all for being unapologetically yourself, but you got to look at yourself at the end of the day in the mirror and you have to be okay with whatever choice you made. And I think that one last thing I'm just going to say, I think that it's very complicated when we talk about sex and body positivity and all of that. It's a nuanced thing. They've been running game on us for 1,000 years, telling us thousands of years, telling us what we should do to be a woman. And so to say, oh, I'm throwing all that out I'm throwing the baby out with the bathwater and I'm just going to be this empowered individual. Yeah, that's it's all right to say until that man doesn't call you the next day or until you get that look from, the pastor walking down the street and you feel like a slut. It's and those are just realities of what happens when you choose to present yourself in this way, that doesn't mean it's right or wrong. It means these are the realities you also have to process.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
I must say to
Let
that
me,
is
let me pause you for a minute, Makoya. You said the perfect thing, because I want to give you a chance to respond, Makoya. But one of the things that I shared with my daughter in love, and if you guys checked in some weeks back, I had Gen Z on, and one of the things that I shared with those young ladies that was on is that the world will treat you the way that you present yourself. And that's true whether we like it or not. So I want to touch on, as soon as Makoya makes her point, the double standard, because that has been mentioned in the comments about the double standard. It's okay for, and men will argue this all day long. Okay, they can go out and excuse my French, but we being real, we being honest. This is high heels and lipstick conversation, so I'm going to say it. But they can go out and fuck 10 women, okay, and there's no consequence to them. We don't have that same. We don't have that same ability. And they can justify it with the Bible, and men have always had 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 100 wives. Solomon is, and they have the basis to back them up. But we can't do that same thing. Makoya said, "Go ahead. What you're gonna say?"
my only thing is that when you said be your authentic self, I'm just gonna be realistic from my point of view. The woman that I was at 25, I was not that woman at 35, nor was I that woman at 45. So being your authentic self to me is like you don't have enough information to know who you are. And I'm not saying that you can't make mistakes and you can't walk in whatever it is that you're walking in. But what I tell my daughters is this, is that what you feel so strongly about today, in 5 years, you're not.
Yeah.
And what I want you to be is that whatever decision that you make, you stand by this decision. That's who you were today. But just know everything that you do has consequences, repercussions, and things that you go on. And I think that the narrative has changed because we keep saying, "Oh, I'm my authentic self, and I'm this and I'm that," but we change and we evolve. And when you take that mindset, you're not thinking that when you evolve, will this evolve with you? And that's my only thing that I try to teach my daughters. This is your authentic self today, but this is not going to be your authentic self in 5 years. And life and situations and experiences change you.
Yeah.
So
all we can do is be who we are in the present moment. That's all. The present moment is all we have. So that's all we can be is who we are. And like Maya Angelou said, when you know better, you do better. And I agree totally that you have to think about the longevity of the media that we have now and the things that are placed on the internet that never disappear. Once something is there, you could try to bury it, but it's there, for anybody to see. So yeah, like I was saying, I definitely think you be your authentic self, but understand the implications. Do things in a way that's emotionally, physically, spiritually safe, and always think of those things first. But there's for me, the judgment piece is just something that I don't do.
Yeah, it's hard.
The other thing I can say too, when you were talking about double standards,
and that's where Mark is frowning at. He's probably frowning at the fact that I said that there is a double standard, and whether we like it or not, as women, there is a double standard.
We not even do that. There's a double. It's a double-sided double standard.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that, of course, is you have your in the face, like we all know what we're talking about, is like if this man sleeps with 5 women in 3 days, he's the shit. Like, oh nigga, you did that. If a woman sleeps with 5 men in 3 days, she's definitely a whore. Like, don't touch her. She's for the streets. Blah 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 blah. Right. But then there's the other double standard of these men are out here. They're part of the reason these women are like this, because the women think that that's what this man wants. They think that that's what this man gets. This dude is out here throwing money at the strippers, some of the strip clubs, depending on region or state or whatever, some of them are completely nude, vaginas in your husband's face. They perfectly fine with it until they decide, oh, I like her, let me make her my woman. Then all of a sudden, ooh, you can't be doing stuff like that. You my girl. But that's not where you found me. And let him get mad at you.
You found me busting me wide open.
Now it's I can't turn a hoe into a housewife. Wait, what? So that's why I mean, like, it's even a double-sided double standard to the conversation.
They want to fix the sheets though.
And to be honest with you, men that sleep around, to me, in my opinion, they're just as, however you want to say it, just as nasty as the women. Like, I don't want to associate with any type of man that's sleeping around with different women. That's just unattractive to me, either sex.
And the conversations that I've had with guys, open, safe place conversations, nobody at each other or anything like that, is the one consensus that these men are giving in regards to why women are whores when they're living this lifestyle is because a man can enter a woman, but a woman can't enter a man. That's their argument.
Yep, I've heard that.
And just because when we talk about soul ties, they're like, oh yeah, that nigga done been in you, he done busting you, blah, 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 blah. You're tied just as much, sir. Even though you pull it out, you pull the soul attachment out right on with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely think, there's a double standard. But I think it's one of those things that these women are challenging. They're challenging that idea that there's only one acceptable form of sexuality in a woman, which is, being only sexual with your, monogamous partner. The idea of that is just becoming, they're just challenging it. They're saying that that's just not the way it always has to be in order for me to be a woman of value. And so because of that, I don't know if it's changing as rapidly as we think, but hookup culture, like I think the article that you sent about hookup culture is more and more common on these college campuses. And it's expected that women are going to hook up with them. The idea of waiting long-term for sex or waiting until you're in a monogamous relationship to have sex is not even, within the realm of like what's expected anymore of these kids. These young guys, they expect you to have sex with them pretty quickly. And I don't know if there is a super huge judgment factor on it as much as it is in our generation or even, the millennium. I'm Gen X. So even with millennials, I don't think that we're at that level of sex positivity as these kids are.
Yeah.
And to be honest with you, I think some of it is pressure. Some of the whole culture is pressure from that, from the way everybody lives their lifestyle now, and how everybody's just so free sexually, that I think a big segment of girls and young women feel pressured to be a part of the whole culture because they feel like they won't get the attention from the guys if they don't, because a lot of the guys, especially at that age, they will overlook the good girl and they will chase the ones that's a part of that whole culture and putting it all out there, and you'll be sitting home dateless. And that's just the reality. So I think some of the young ladies are pressured into that lifestyle.
But I know some men will tell their sons, go out there and sow your oats at an early age, but they'll tell their daughters, no, wait till you married.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think it also has to do with with lack of emotional intelligence as well. And what I mean by that is the younger generation, between the change in discipline between parents and children, between, as we keep going, we keep growing these dysfunctional, by dysfunctional, I mean, single parent households, things like that, they don't know how to process emotions in a healthy way. So when it comes to having a romantic, emotional relationship with a partner, depending on what that partner has gone through, that's the other thing. They can control having sex. They cannot control the emotions that they're feeling or that other person's emotions either. But as a woman, I know more often than not There are times if I want a man to do something, I just let her do it. Like,
You know
like,
what? I would love to. I would love to challenge the idea that these kids are not emotionally intelligent. I'm gonna say this generation is the most therapized and understanding their, emotions and having the language. They know about self-care. They know about, in like spiritual integration. They know about manifestation, visualization. They know about, they know their feeling words. They're really in tune with the space that we were not, at least definitely in my generation, we were not in tune with understanding our bliss. We were afraid to follow our bliss. We were taught, to get married, stick with that same man no matter what he did, stay in that that job, especially if it was a good government job or a good factory job, stay in that job for 40 years. These kids ain't having none of that. They are very, very focused on their bliss, on finding something that has meaning to them. And, for that, I feel like we need to look to them a little bit more than, putting them down. I know we say stuff like, oh, they don't want to work. I don't particularly want to work. Did you? Like, I think we just we don't listen to this generation enough to mine them for what they have to offer to society, and to the way that we look at ourselves, even as women.
Yeah, I always say that with this younger generation, while there are some major differences between, and we talked about that very thing, Dr. Adrian, the difference between Gen Z, millennials, because those are two separate generations, and then Gen X, and some of the things that we don't understand about Gen Z in particular, because when we look at the Sukianas and the Sexy Red, they would probably be classified as the Gen Zers. But there's some things that I really appreciate about that generation. They're very entrepreneurial. Like you said, they're the most, they seek mental health, and they're the first to say, listen, y'all not going to stress me out. I'm going to take some days off. Whereas our generation didn't grow up that way. And then Natasha says another factor is young people are not as religious, or what we would probably think of as groomed in church, as than previous generations. And so they don't have that stigma of what does God think about this thing. And so is that a good thing or is that a bad thing? I'm just going to say, for me, I think that's a failure on those of us who are in older generations, that we didn't pass some of that. And I'm not saying not to be, sexuality positive or anything, but there's something to be said about the fact that we didn't pass God down to the younger generations in that way.
I definitely agree. My daughter, my last kid is 18. August, she out of here. So. But we were talking, and she talks a lot about her relationship with God, and that how a lot of her peers don't have it, and she was appreciative that I had introduced her to God. But when we were younger, we didn't have a choice. You was going to all night prayer, you was going to Bible study on Wednesday, church on Sunday, choir rehearsal on Tuesday. I mean, we went to church 4 or 5 nights a week. And we had the fear of God in us. But as I'm gonna say, a lot of my friends, when they started having kids, they didn't make their kids go to church. They didn't teach their kids about God. A lot of us lacked on that relationship. And then when we got in trouble, we turned back to God, but we didn't bring our children with us. And so I think that that's to me, a bad thing, because more people need that personal relationship, and then you would just govern yourself. I'm not real churchy, but I am about my personal relationship with God. And I think that if you have that and you teach your children that, then they will hold themselves to a different standard. And go from there.
So Mark says the relationship, this goes back to the double standard. The relationship that men have with sex is different than the relationship women have with it. We have different urges than you all have. We desire sex more. And
Lies.
I think you want to get into it. We have different urges. We desire sex more than you all. So if a girl advertises sex regularly, we don't shame a guy for going to get what she's presenting. Other girls see that as attention hoes are getting and want it, even if it costs them respect. I see
You
the
know
wheels
what?
are turning. The
I
wheels
think
are
that's
turning, ladies. Say what you got to say.
I think collectively we disagree with them wanting sex more than you all. I think we collectively
Oh yeah,
feel that
that's
women
not
want
true
more
at all.
sex
How true is
at
that?
all. That we
Women
can
may
agree
desire
to.
penetration less than men desire penetration, but women are still extremely sexual beings, and they, desire to have sexual intimacy. It just may look different. Like maybe not every woman is not trying to go to Pound Town. That doesn't mean she doesn't want to have a sexual experience almost as regularly as you do. And maybe a lot of times women are not interested in sex because their needs are not being met, and so therefore they are not as interested.
And statistically, women think about it more than men. It's just that we're less likely to act on it because y'all will talk yourselves out of it versus y'all don't give a damn what comes out of our mouth as long as you get vagina.
correct. But you know what? I think a lot of women are not forthcoming because it's all about the cum. Like, some women just not it. And since they have introduced the rose, the bullet, the rabbit, or whatever that you want to call it, I believe that more women are into self-pleasing themselves. So, I mean, that's what men think, like they want sex more than we.
It's over a toy.
You said what?
I said I prefer penis over a toy.
Well, and that's the thing. So statistically speaking, right? Statistically speaking, 20% of women actually have orgasms from penetration, right? That is a statistic fact.
That's the
So you have women that are now taking the time to learn their body with these toys. That's really what it is. I'm fortunate. I'm in the 20%. Sir, you may not know what you're doing. I can just have you lay there and I can accomplish everything I want to accomplish, whether you move or not. I just need you to rise to the occasion. Not every woman is like that because it was frowned upon for a woman to masturbate. Why are you touching yourself? Why are you this? And of course, our generations and younger, we were supposed to give our bodies to the man because he knows what he's doing. No, he doesn't. Let's think about this. Put a Q-tip in your ear. Which one is getting better stimulation? It's the same factor. And the majority, especially of American men, are circumcised. Sorry, guys, when you get circumcised, you lose a lot of your sexual sensation. You actually do. So even in the classes of circumcised versus uncircumcised, you're still not even getting as much pleasure as you think you're getting. But when a woman truly is going through therapy, getting her mind right, understanding what she needs for her, and starts to sexually stimulate herself, the sexual thoughts go through the roof. Through the roof.
Here's a myth that I often find interesting from men because they assume that if you use, and this is going into a whole nother topic, okay? So they assume that if you use things like toys and things of that nature, that you lose sensation when it comes to a man. No. Listen, brothers, if you hit the spot, it don't matter how many toys she didn't use before you.
Come
if
on.
you hit the spot and doing what you need to do, you're going to get what you came to do. So her using a rose or a toy.
If your tongue replacing the toy, come on.
I mean, their tongue's never going to go that speed. It's true. But what I will say is, for some men, that is very much a cop-out because at the end of the day, so for me, I know I'm a pleaser, right? So I'm always in competition with myself when I am pleasing my partner. If your goal is to please your partner, then the first step is learning your partner. So if you're not taking the time to learn her, to ask her questions, to watch her body language, to listen, and quit being selfish and take yourself out of the situation, If you're not willing to do that, no, you're not going to compare to the rabbit or to the rose, because all you care about is, yeah, let me get my good 5 pumps in and let me do this.
But I think, what's interesting to me is like, I feel like there is and I've talked to a lot of women about this, that a lot of women have a very performative nature when they, engage in sex with men because of, stuff like, the song WAP. They talk about, you got this WAP, but they don't talk about what makes it wappy and sloppy. Like, what are you doing to help facilitate this? I have to come with, I have to come ready to go, swinging off the chandeliers and blah, 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 but what are we doing to ensure my sexual pleasure? And that is something that's not really talked about. It's like, now, of course, we're supposed to be these hypersexual beings that are ready to please and that are easily pleased. I've had people say that, oh, it takes me a while to have an orgasm, so I just lie, and just pretend like I had an orgasm because because my man starts asking me, what's wrong with you? Why can't you come? And this happens
because I didn't come and you didn't
right.
do what you
And that's why I love
you ain't help me.
It's like, I ain't gonna lie on my nut, and so
at all.
A lot of
I am not gonna lie. You gonna do what you came to do. We both gonna be happy, because if I don't come, you are this not happy wife is happy life. I gotta come. I wanna and go to sleep just like you do. So come on in here, do what we need to do, and when you see us, we both happy. Because
I'm not gonna lie on my nut. I'm not gonna lie.
And that's the thing. And that's the thing. It comes with learning your partner, because that's the other thing. Like, I'm gonna get her, I'm gonna turn around it. Sir, one, what you did with her don't mean it's gonna work for me.
How do you get comfortable with having those
conversations? But secondly, did she really though? Or did she just stroke your ego so you can get up?
That's so John, you said something. How do you get comfortable having those conversations?
Yeah, like how do you even get comfortable having them conversations? Because some women don't have those conversations, or they can't say, I ain't liking when you did it like that. Don't blow on it, whatever it is.
But they're not, Don. They're not gonna have. Most men are not even ready for that conversation because their egos are fragile. And I'm not saying that to emasculate them in any capacity. But for men, their success is based on their penis, their money. You know what I mean? To them, they don't think about, we do care about their emotions. Like, we care about how you feel. So that's why we lying to you. Because we want you, we trying to big you up so that you can actually make us a little bit. No, you didn't? Okay, sir.
Listen, I'm just going to say this, and I'm going to transition. It is untrue that if we use sexual pleasure toys, that we lose feeling, that we lose the ability to do what we need to do when we're in that bedroom. If anything, it enhances us because we know our bodies. Okay. I want to go here because this was mentioned in the private chat, and I think this is good to add to the conversation of hoe culture. The poly conversation, because we talked about that. Well, we haven't talked about that, but there's a lot of talk about that. In podcasting, you start to view other podcasts and what they think about certain topics and things like that. And now I'm more involved in watching other podcasts on YouTube. And this conversation has come up a lot, like poly relationships. And particularly we see poly relationship more so with one man, 3-4 women, 3-4 wives. What are you guys' thoughts on that? Like, because this is the train of thought that I have seen from a lot of men who are pro poly relationship, is that we are moving into a space where there is not enough men to go around. Okay. And there's all these women to one man. And so we're moving to a space back to the biblical times where we have no choice but to be in a poly relationship. And so therefore, all this hoism and hoe culture, if you really want to be married, that's going to be done away with anyway, because you have no choice but to share a man.
My
So
question
I've been in
is
poly relationships.
here.
So
my question is, can you afford a poly
exactly.
relationship? That's what it's going to
Exactly.
boil down
That
to.
part.
You say you want a poly relationship, but can you afford it?
Right. Because there's definitely a difference. And like I said, I've been in poly relationships. There's definitely a difference in somebody who is basically a swinger or in an open relationship than there is to be an actual poly relationship. In a poly relationship, depending on the dynamic, so let's say one man, multiple women, in a true poly relationship, that man can sustain every woman's lifestyle equally. If
Okay,
one
so
woman
you've
doesn't
been
have
in
to
a
work, none of
relationship
them
with
have
a
to
man
work.
was sustaining all y'all lifestyles.
Hmm.
Andre. Okay.
Hmm.
Do tell.
Well, I think that polyamory and polyamorous relationships, ethically non-monogamous relationships, threesomes, foursomes, moresomes, there are it's such a nuanced thing. Like, to say that it's all about, them, that the man has to be the provider. There are definitely some where the man is not the provider and, it's something else, or there's different genders, mixed genders in these relationships. There are, poly relationships that are just all three women, or there is just the possibilities are limitless.
The
And
dynamics,
so
yeah.
in terms of relationships, everybody has to decide, just like every marriage is different, every relationship is different. The people in the relationship have to negotiate. And I think poly relationships can work. I've seen some really beautiful ones. But it seems like because there's no roadmap and because heteronormative relationships, meaning one man and one woman, are the norm, and that's what we have the blueprint for. That's what we looked at the rom-coms and the fairy tales, and that's what we know. The rules of something else that are outside of that paradigm, whether it be because of gender or number of people or whatever, we have to define our own rules, and we have to look to other experts about how to make that happen.
But here's the thing, when it comes to polyamorous relationships, people just think, oh, I have the ability to have multiple, to do what I want, how I want, and kind of move. Polyamorous relationships are a lot of little monogamous relationships together. They do look, because I've been in instances where each person was something different to me. I have been in situations where I was a part of a throuple and I was the girlfriend, but again, I was still sustained. But I was also allowed, if you will, because it was an open conversation, that I could do with whomever I chose to, because that particular relationship started with me being a part of a married couple. They both equally, it started off with I was going to be for him, and then me and the wife talked, and it was like, well, I'm kind of into you too, and it was like, well, we all love each other, but I also recognize that in that particular dynamic, they were married, they had the history, all of that, and I went into it knowing that at any particular point that they could scrap everything and decide they no longer want to do this, but they still had each other. So I refused to allow myself to be boxed in. Now, while I chose to simply be with them, I wasn't, held bound to, I can only be with them in that relationship, because they understood my feelings. We talked about how things made us feel. We were always openly communicating. There's constant communication, just like in a monogamous relationship. You cannot deal with people, their feelings and lifestyles, and not have effective communication. It doesn't matter if it's with one person, two people, or 10 people. If there is no effective communication, that relationship is gonna fail.
So for you, do you think that the poly relationship works, or
I
would you
think
do it again, or like
yeah, I would do it again.
what are your thoughts, ladies? Like, do you think we're moving towards that direction? Because we say that, the statistics will say that there's, 3, 4, women for every man. Is that the direction that we're moving in? And what does that mean for hoe culture? This, hoe culture we talk about.
I don't know that it's moving in a direction per se, but I think it gives the opportunity for those who want to be in some sort of relationship or some sort of exclusive relationship, but they don't want to just be tied down to one person. And so I think it's like Andrea was saying, as far as like having that conversation with your mate, you know, if that's something that y'all want to add into your relationship, or if you know for yourself that you don't want to be with just one person, well, that's the conversation that you have off top with whomever you talking to and whoever you dating.
Yeah.
I think the younger generation they're very open to that. I think that's they're more prone to that type of relationship. I see it a lot with the younger generation. And also people are just comfortable with their sexuality as well. So, I mean, my question to the young lady, what would you say would be the cons to a poly relationship, or what would be the challenges or some things that you experienced?
This is for me?
Yeah.
Okay. So thankfully I haven't, okay, not saying I haven't experienced cons, because I have. I'll get into that in just 2 seconds. But the cons that I've seen with other relationships is, again, lack of communication. And the reason the lack of communication became a problem is because there would be instances where maybe a person started to grow more towards the other person, and instead of sitting down and admitting that, having that open space and being in that vulnerable zone to say, hey, we started here, this is how I'm feeling, I want to make sure everybody is aware so that everybody can process it. They were hiding those feelings and sneaking. And that's why I said it can be very similar to monogamous issues, because then the problem wasn't even for these people that they started getting stronger feelings for the other person. It was that they left their original partner out, or their other partners out of it. So those people were not able to make informed decisions. And that's where the fail is. It isn't because you're growing to this, because everybody here in this space is open to loving multiple people, to being with multiple people, to supporting multiple people. But when you don't communicate, and more importantly, when you're not honest with yourself, that's where the problems begin. You have to be able to, one, know who you are and what you need. And just because you needed this yesterday doesn't mean you're going to need it today. But it does mean you have to know that, you have to recognize that, and you have to find a healthy way to navigate that through and communicate that with your partners. Because otherwise, what ends up happening is they started cheating. People think you can't cheat in a polyamorous relationship. Yes, you can, because your agreement, your unwritten agreement with that person is, I've chosen to be in this type of relationship with these specific people. Just like monogamy, I have had this unwritten
boundary. Yeah, or within this, some poly relationships are polyamorous and open. There's just so many. I don't think there's one way to do it. But I think, that's one of the cons I think that I definitely see a lot is when women are forced into it by those societal factors, by those factors like, my man wants this, and therefore to keep my man, I've got to do it. Or I've seen, even men forced into it because of infidelity. And if infidelity is the point that leads you into a polyamorous situation, just saying it out loud does not make it okay. It doesn't make it okay just because now, I've said out loud, I'm going to cheat on you. It's still cheating if my emotional needs are not being met, and we don't have a real, true, heartfelt agreement between the two of us. Just because we've, fake ass agreed on it, it doesn't make it a true, healthy polyamorous relationship. So I think that's the biggest con is when it's not really, when it's made under coercion.
Right.
I've actually seen it on the opposite end too. I've seen it on the opposite end too, where the woman is the one that wants to invite another partner into the relationship, and the man is kind of just like going along for the ride.
So I have a story about that too.
Unfortunately, though, before you tell that story, a lot of men who are into the poly relationships and they don't see that as a viable poly relationship. Like if a woman wants multiple men, like what's the difference? If like it's still poly, it's still multiple, but men tend to take that, that biblical perspective of what polyamorous is or poly relationships is, and it's usually them with several women. So it's hard for them to conceive a woman being open or wanting, or a poly relationship being multiple men and one woman.
So I have men that have expressed in regards to that why. So while I understand his perspective, and I appreciated him, sharing that information. It's a couple guys have shared this viewpoint. I still don't care, but I was like, thank you. So in the aspect of not even necessarily biblical, in the aspect of a man having multiple women, they can continue on their lineage with these women. Under the umbrella of
I think she's going out. I think Andrea's going out a little bit. You got some unstable connection, Andrea. I want to highlight this comment. Mark says, women love sex just as much as men, but we desire it. What does he say? But we desire it enough to pay for it. And strip clubs open just for the illusion of it.
Women go to strip clubs too. What the hell?
Lose jobs. Don't forget that part.
Many women lose jobs over some
It's true. It's true. Okay, can you guys hear me now?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
You're back. Yes. Lativia says, I appreciate hearing different perspectives. There's nothing new under the sun. And Alicia says, sex is very recreational nowadays. They have oral very casually. This is muting it's obstructing my view. And nice thing, there's no emotional attachment with the young folks as far as I can see. Yeah. So, I mean, okay. So is there something to be said? Is the reason why we see this double standard is because we've always held to this belief. And listen, I'm not saying that this is right, it's wrong. This is not a religious conversation. If this was a religious conversation, I would have different advice. And again, I have shared with my own daughter, my daughter-in-law, that the way you present yourself is how the world is going to treat you. But there are a segment of women who say that they're not emotionally attached to sex at all. Like there's no emotional, there are women who will tell you today, and I will say the older you get, this is one thing that men fail to understand about us as women. As we get older, especially once you get in my age, yes, we want sex just as much, but we also have learned how to detach from sex even more the older that we get.
I think that was always a myth that men always thought that women had to be emotionally attached. And when it's just about the come, a man can't process that. I mean, because way long time ago, if the sex was not good, I'm not calling you anymore. I'm not wasting my time. This is a long time ago, because see, it's about the come. I want to come, and if I don't come in the manner in which you came, because I know what I brought. If you didn't bring it to the table, why continue this conversation? I mean, because everybody. I mean, but when a woman presents herself like that, then she's either a hoe or what. But it's not that. It's that you was talking all this mess. Now we here, and I could have had a V8.
Yes, you got it all the way back.
Hey, listen.
But that was a long time ago.
Okay.
Long time ago.
It got more release.
Yeah, I mean, but men look at you as being promiscuous or a hoe if you know your sexuality and what you want. And then once that you say no, that ain't it, or hit that part, or do that over there. But I mean, men, a lot of men can't take that from a woman who knows her body, who enjoys sex. And if a woman enjoys sex, some men are intimidated by that because you know what you want. When you come through the door, be ready. Put your A game on. Don't we ain't gotta talk. If R. Kelly already playing, you know what's going on. Let's get
I'm
it.
in love with you. You are hilarious. Hilarious.
But the article tried to allude to like not having like you had to have like women had to have some type of emotional attachment, and I'm like, that's not true for all women. Definitely not a lot of women. It's very possible to detach and be like,
Yeah.
like we ain't gotta cuddle. See you later.
And I think we can all agree, though, even for women that don't require an emotional attachment, and I happen to be one of those people. I mean, let's be perfectly honest. When you do have that emotional attachment, that's when shit's just elevated to a level that could present stalkism for some people, or in the terms of the olden days, pussy whipped or being digmatized. When you start to put your emotion, you've invested your emotion, and I've given you my sugar walls, bro. This is about to be life changing if what you bring to the table is worth it.
Yeah. I think it all depends on your season, right? So I'm married, obviously. I love my husband. So obviously for me, sex is an emotional thing. But some men don't understand how women can get to a point in their life, and they call it hoism, they call it being a hoe. But sometimes women get to a certain point, like this era in my life, like I'm 46. Some women get around my age and there's no emotional attachment whatsoever as it relates to sex, because they just have a need, and they've gotten to a place, they've grown to a place where they've learned how to detach emotions from sex. And men tend to think that sex is all emotional, and it's not, because that's how they have viewed us for so long. They think that we're attached to sex, and sex is what drives us, and emotion, and that's what have y'all stalking. And some of it's true, Mark. Sometimes we have stalked y'all because of good dick, but it's not always attached to that. Like, there's other elements to our emotions as a woman, is how you make us feel. Is where we are in that season of life. So there's a lot of women that's post-divorce who listen, they ain't proud to be attached to no dick. They don't want
and to piggyback off what you're saying, Nemia, when you say it's how you feel, let's really be honest. There are times when a guy is telling you, he's verbalizing, he's saying, I don't want a relationship, right? I don't want a relationship. However, his actions scream relationship, and then you're having sex with her. So now you're blaming her because I told you I didn't want a relationship, and she's now emotionally invested. Now, I'm not saying she is not accountable for her emotions, because she should have listened when you said you didn't want a relationship. But you also played that part to feed into keeping her around, to be able to get more of her and have access to her. You did just enough to be able to keep her. So now she's invested, and you want to blame her. It's her fault. She's crazy.
And the reality is they're saying they don't want a relationship, but they want all of the components. There are men who say they don't want a relationship, but they want somebody to only be loyal to them, or to not have any bodies. So it's like, I don't want a salad, but I just want, some shredded lettuce, a little carrot, some tomato. Like, no, you want a salad, dude. Like,
right. Go some cheese and croutons on it for me.
Right.
But I feel like at some point, as a woman, you got to know better. You know what I'm saying? You got to be like, no, you have to know better. Because if a man is telling you, I don't want a relationship, but I just want your cookies, at some point you got to be like, you either in it for that. But if you think that you're going to change his mind by giving him your body and everything else, I think at a certain age you should know better. But from what I've heard is
Yeah, 'cause
that
your husband
men
is checking in. Your husband is checking in, McCoya.
I know.
Said,
Look,
great
I
show.
see that. I see that. Why? But men, if you do them like that, they have a fit. I mean,
Mhm.
because if you tell a man this is what this is, and this is all that we doing, he's gonna pursue you even more because you can sleep with him and not be attached to him. And a lot of men, and in my opinion, those are fuck boys
Mhm.
because they thinking that sex is gonna keep you, or that sex is something that you only emotionally tied to. And once that you can play the game like they play, then now it's a
Mhm.
game, and I now want to conquer you. And then in
Mhm.
the midst, now you conquered because I still ain't gonna do right. I'm still gonna do me, and then that's that. But it comes a game. But it only becomes a game when you're not mentally. You know what I'm saying? If you on fuck boy shit, then that's where you at. But if you it to me, if you're an adult about it and whatever's going on, then that's how you're gonna treat it because you know we can do this and then go our separate ways. We don't have to be emotionally attached. Some people can just it's about to come and that's that. And
Boomerang is not just a movie.
I'm
Like
talking about
legit, there are women out here that are like, okay, yeah, you good, homie. Here's $40. Like there are women
right.
out here like that. Look at Eartha Kitt. She wasn't afraid to be aggressive in her sexual prowess. Like it's and how long ago was Boomerang? What 89? Like that wasn't just a movie. That's why like going back to the beginning of the conversation, it's not that whole culture or something is just now happening. It's that we have the internet. It is more visible. It is
Social
more
media.
it is
Yeah.
more outwardly talked about, but it's been going on for generations. How many times do we hear now, like before, like you would hear about men cheating, right? Homeboy would die, and all of a sudden, the girlfriend with the kid that actually probably lived down the street that showed up, and oh my God, my Johnny, ma'am, where did you come from? And who is this kid? It was his, but it wasn't talked about the women that were having kids that didn't belong to their husband. Like it's been there.
It's been
It's
there.
been there.
It's
It's
just
just
presented
now
in a
it's
different
so
way.
much in your face. It's
Yeah.
and it's always in your face, and it's always in your face because people like other people's business, like
Yeah.
Nemia led with Steve Harvey and Kiki.
Uh-oh, I think you froze up again, Andrea. So listen, I wanna because we've been going 90 minutes and I want to be conscious of everybody's time. This is a excellent, like we need a part two. We almost need a part two, I'm for real. Because there's so much that we could talk about as it relates to this. One of the things that I we talked about younger generations and what they see is all over social media, but I do want to end here with our conversation, in that what responsibility do you think those of us who are women, we may come from the Gen X or the millennial generation, what responsibility do we hold to this younger generation who we see is just the norm? It's just their norm. Whole culture is their norm. And two, and the reason why I ask that is because I can remember clear as day, and I've made this point before, when I was younger, yes, I grew up on the Little Kims and the Foxy Browns when kind of like we began to be more vocal about our sexuality. But I also grew up on the Queen Latifahs and the MC Lights and the Queen Latifahs, Who You Calling a Bitch? And, I grew up on that kind of hip hop. I also grew up on seeing images of women, Black women in particular, where they were very graceful, the Felicia Rashads and the Debbie Allens and all the women I could probably name a plethora of Black women that I grew up on and seeing images of them who gave me an alternative to the Little Kims and the Foxy Browns. And so I was able to separate reality from these very graceful type of women. And so what I grew up And I'm a believer in, listen, I get ratchet when me and my girlfriends go out. I have a good time. We have a good time. I dance to all that music. I'm going to get on the dance floor, especially if I've had a few drinks in me. And my husband knows that, knows that about me. He knows that about when I hang out with my girlfriends and all of that. But I can separate reality from who I am as a woman. At the end of the night, I know that I'm going home to a husband and a household, and I have a household to take care of, and I got some cooking to do, and I got some cleaning to do, and all of that good stuff. There does not seem to be a separation from that reality to what it really is, what womanhood really is. And so, what responsibility do you think we as women hold for this younger generation, if any? Do we hold any responsibility to show them, because they don't have that alternative? They don't have the Debbie Allens and the Felicia Rashads and the graceful, the graceful women that used to grace our television screens anymore. All they see is the Sukianas and the Sexy Reds and all of these Instagram models with the BBLs and all of this. What responsibility do we as women who know better, have learned better, what responsibility do we owe them? And we'll end the discussion there. Or do we hold any responsibility?
So I want to say that I think that definitely they have some models out there. Just because we were talking a little bit in the pre-chat about like the music and what's available, and there are so many new and upcoming neo soul artists. There's a lot of movement in that area. There are people who are trying to have some positivity thrown in there. They exist. Those images exist. And like, my kids are in that era. They're young people, young adults, and they find themselves gravitating towards some of these more positive images and artists because it's about balance. As parents, as seasoned women, it's about presenting them with some balance, some alternatives, because they are there. I think the idea that this generation is devoid of what we had, I think it's just not true. I don't think we know them as well. They may not be as well known, and they may not reach our ears as readily, but they're there and our kids know them. So it's nurturing that in them so they can have that balance. And then it's listening. It's closing our mouths and opening our ears and listening to what these women truly have to say from a space of non-judgment, from a space of validating who they are, and really listening, because people don't really care what you know until they know that you care. And we're at a place now where we want to tell them, we want to talk to them and impart all this knowledge, but we got to listen. They have some good things to say. These kids, they know more than we give them credit for. And they thought these things through a lot more than what we think. Some of them are hoeing, and they made a very conscious decision to do that. And they understand the implications behind it. They know, and they're in control of their sexuality. So we're coming from a place of, oh, they don't know anything. But these kids know a lot. These young people, they know a lot, and they are very introspective. So I think validating, coming from a place of empathy, and also, trying to create some balance.
And I think it's just, how like when we were young, it was like, we were who we are now, who our parents were to us. It was like, God, you hear their music, like listening to Tupac, listening to Biggie, because they listened to Luther Vandross and Earth, Wind and Fire, but they also listened to Prince. So it didn't come across the same way. I do agree with Adrian in the sense of, I think they do have it. We may not know their names. I can say, I feel like, I don't know about rap wise as far as female rap artists in the terms of this conversation, but I do feel like women, young women of the current generation look more at like Beyonce, because to them Beyonce is very classy. You know what I'm saying? And Beyonce still talks about sex. She still talks about it. It's just not necessarily in the vulgar sense in which Cardi B and Sukihana present it. So they do have some semblance of classy versus ratchet in music. But I think with us, again, I'm in agreement. We have to listen. We have to listen to them and find out how they can receive what we're trying to explain. And
Yeah.
also in a non-controlling way. We shouldn't
Non-judgmental
have,
way. Yeah.
right, we shouldn't be, make them feel judged because they choose to talk about it or display it in a different way. We just don't happen to agree with it. And I won't even say I don't agree with it. It's just that's not how I would do it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And it's a matter of allowing them, as long as what they're doing isn't causing harm, it's just allowing them to have that conversation and providing that safe space to where they can communicate. They can let you know. I mean, try asking them why. Why do you like this? Why? Tell me, help me understand what it is about this information or what it is about this person and their delivery that has you ready to repeat the words the way they say it. What has you, ask the questions. It's okay to not know and to let them know you want to understand. They might learn they might learn you something, as they say here in the South. They might learn you something. So I wholeheartedly agree with have a conversation, be open and receptive to listening, and be open to the idea that we in our generations and older generations may actually learn something.
Yeah. Yeah. Doc MP says, I agree, Adrian. This new generation, they aren't afraid to let you know who they are. There are no boundaries or inhibitions. Alicia says, we absolutely have a responsibility to distinguish the difference between the illusion of these entertainers and the realities of real life, especially for young women who haven't had the guidance that we have provided our own kids. So yeah, there are a lot of young women who don't know that Sukiana goes home at the end of the day and she cooks a whole meal for her dinner for her kids, or that she's just entertaining to monetize. There are young women out here who don't know the difference. They think it's really a reality and the way to bring attention to yourself. And it's another, social media is just all about attention seeking, right? So we were fortunate enough to not grow up through social media. This younger generation, they were born into social media. So for them, it's all about attention seeking and likes and loves. And the more likes and love that they get, the more they feel accepted and appreciated and wanted and desired. And for some of them, is the more ass that they show, the more titties they show, the more of their sexuality they show, that's the more acceptance that they get. And so I personally believe that we have a responsibility to our young women to show them an alternative reality, right? Based on their desires, what they want. Go ahead. I feel like someone else is going to add to that.
I think we do have a responsibility. One of the main things that I'd agree with you guys is to listen. I listen to my daughters a lot, and I leave a space where there's no judgment. And I really like the relationship that I have with my children because they tell me stuff that I don't think they should be telling me. But I like the part that we can have an open dialogue and we talk. And I tell my daughters when she talks to me, I say, I bet you that this is going to happen. And when she comes back, she said, Mom, how did you know? And I'm like, because experience in life. I just tell my daughters what happened to me or what I seen and what I learned. And that you could either do this or you could do that. Because it's either one or two things that's going to happen. I give them enough space to make their own decisions. And I give them enough net to catch them if need be. So far, I've been blessed. I have 3 daughters, 2 college graduates, no grandbabies from my daughters, and they live their life. They've made some mistakes, they've learned, and they're balanced, and that's the part that I like. Because for me, I want the last voice that you hear when you out doing whatever it is that you hear, that is my voice, that you hear, that you have some kind of boundary, and that something that you hold yourself to. And then if you holding up yourself like this, then your friends are going to see this, and then like people and like-minded hang together and they hold themselves accountable. So I think that if we can teach them without judging them and giving them a safe space, then they can grow. And you gotta be able to let them make some mistakes and
Yeah.
do some things, and they'll learn from that. Just don't let them. My personal belief is just don't let them go too far. But I do give them enough space and grace to learn lessons, and so far, I've been blessed.
Thank
You
you.
know, something else too is to take them alongside with you. Like, we don't always have to make everything a conversation. Let me show you, let's do things that are maybe out of the norm. I mean, you know, some people get in, like for my daughter, I have had her in community service of all different shapes and sizes since she was 3. So she's out here and she's seeing what could happen if you party too hard with drugs. She's out here and she can see what could happen if you mismanage your money and you potentially end up homeless. She's seeing these life lessons and not just hearing it from me. And these people that she's had the fortunate chance of meeting throughout life, she's learning from them, because sometimes even as parents or aunties or, you know, friends, you only hear so much, you're only receptive so much for whatever reason. For whatever reason, that particular frequency that's coming from mom and dad, it just not knocking on the eardrum, right? But then some random ass stranger on the street says something, and it's like they have an epiphany. Oh my God, mom, this and third. I'm like, I've been telling you this for 20 years. So sometimes it's just, let me give you a good distraction. Let's go here and go to this arts and crafts or this paint and sip. If you know, if you have an older daughter, there are sometimes you just, let me show you by doing. Let me show you how this could positively impact you if you decided to take up this as a hobby, or if you followed your dream. Because, oh, remember that time you said you wanted to take up guitar lessons, and all of a sudden, you know, so now you can take that and so into that child or that young adult and positively redirect them to finding a different distraction. It doesn't mean that they're going to like that music or this person, celebrity or whatever, any less, but now they have a little something more to focus on.
Yeah.
Because sometimes children aren't
I'm
as
sorry to cut
fortunate
you
to
off, but
have.
I want to be conscious
Oh,
of
sorry.
everybody's time. I'm sorry. I want
No,
to
you're
give
good.
Don and Shay a last minute. Those are the only two that didn't have a last minute thought about, do we have responsibility to this younger generation? And then I want to wrap it up and end it there, because I want to be conscious of everybody's time. We're going on almost 2 hours, so I definitely want to.
So I'll be brief. I do think that we have a responsibility. I feel like the circle, even if you don't have children, whatever young ladies or young people in your circle that you can mentor to, yes, you definitely should, because they come from, sometimes, yes, they're very smart and savvy with a lot of things, but nothing trumps experience. And when you have that experience and you've lived and you've been in this world, it's just some things that they don't know just because of their youth. So we do have a responsibility to make sure we educate them, to let them know the world is unforgiving,
Yeah.
and whatever you put out there, you know, there is consequences for it. And imagery and things that they show, sometimes it's by design. It's what they want to show. So you do have to educate them so they can know what's real and what's fake.
Yeah. One
And
last thought, Don.
we absolutely have a responsibility, because who else is going to do it? And who better to do it than someone who is in their corner, someone who loves them or has, you know, whatever, you know, a big sister interest or motherly interest, whatever it is, for these women, you know, versus, I mean, like Andrea was saying, I know I definitely kind of heard my parents say something, but when you hear somebody else say it, oh, okay, that's, you know, it clicks and it comes together. So, yeah, I definitely think we have responsibility.
Yeah. Ladies, thank you. I know some of y'all y'all battery is running low on your phone, literally. I know Dr. Adrian has to go. I appreciate you, ladies. I appreciate your conversation on this evening. I appreciate all that you have added. Listen, we could definitely do a part two. There's so many things that we could, as we talk about the rise of hoe culture and the impacts that we see today. There's so many topics that we could delve into. But I appreciate your time. I appreciate your thought. I love everything that you ladies said. Shay says, great conversation. It definitely was a great conversation. And I just appreciate you, ladies. If you have to go, please, by all means. I know we got babies, we got husbands, we got all that thing, all that happening in the background. We're having this conversation. So if you have to go, then by all means, go. If you can hang out backstage, feel free to do so while I wrap things up. But again, I appreciate you all on this evening. Thank you, ladies. Thank you. I'm going to put you backstage. Thank you. All right. That was the rise of hoe culture. What do y'all think? What do y'all think? Mark says, a great show. Ladies, thank you. I am glad that we got your approval, Mark. Darian says, love the discussion. Thank you, Soror. Listen, I started off the conversation with the thought that you gave me when we talked actually on Saturday, where you said, hoe culture has always existed. It's just presented in a different way. I think one of the takeaways that I would take away from tonight is that a lot of this is just entertainment. Like, you know, Darren, we talked about even the Cardi B's goes home at the end of the night, and she caters to her husband, and she caters to her kids. And so we have a responsibility to these young women to be able to let them know what's the real from the fake. We debunked a few myths on this evening. So again, I just thank y'all for being a part of the conversation. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Listen, next month, okay? So next month, for the month of September, is all about self-care. We're going to be talking about some self-care topics. I have been asked before, listen, I ain't afraid. I'll tell you all the time, I'm 46. I'm going through some things. I'm going through the things that women at 46 go through. So we're going to talk about some things that are important for us at our age, women to be involved in self-care. So we're going to talk about things like, for the month of September, perimenopause and all that stuff. So I need you to stay tuned for the month of September. And some of the things that we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about combating anxiety and depression and all of that stuff. We're going to have some more guests on to talk about some of that stuff. I need you to follow me on all social media platforms at She Is Nemia. So please follow, like, love my public page, which is She Is Nemia. Like and subscribe on YouTube. Look, I need y'all to help me get my YouTube likes and loves up. So go to YouTube. I am She Is Nemia on YouTube. You can go to my personal page and click onto my YouTube page and just go ahead and subscribe to that page. I would really appreciate it. And then also, if you have not bought my book, 7 Lessons for Her, I don't know what the hell you're waiting on, okay? So you can go to Amazon.com, type in my name, Nemia Carnese. You see it there, Nemia Carnese, and I will be the first book that comes up in your search. And it is called 7 Lessons for Her. It's all about healing, empowerment, and restoration. I need you to get that book. I have gotten a lot of great feedback. I appreciate those individuals that have already supported the book. And listen, tell me what you think. Tell me what you like about the book. Tell me what you didn't like about the book. If I need to do better, because I'm working on book number 2. But if there's something that you feel that you need to share with me, any feedback that you have for me, I'm open to positive, negative, indifferent, whatever feedback that you have. I'm open to it all. Okay. So listen, whenever I end all of these discussions, I always like to end with what I call a lipstick affirmation. And I'm going to end this conversation the same way that I started this conversation when I was talking about Steve Harvey and the Keke Palmers and all of that. Mind your damn business, okay? Listen, we are so, as a society, we get so hung up on other folks' business, other folks' marriages, other folks' relationships, what they doing, what they should do. We give our opinions because we're an opinionated society, and all of our thoughts and opinions are all over social media. But here's how I'm going to end tonight's discussion. Mind your damn business, okay? Sometimes you ain't always got to give your thoughts. Sometimes your opinion is always necessary. Isn't always necessary. Your thoughts, your opinions, your perspectives are not always necessary parts of the discussion. Learn to mind your own damn business sometimes, okay? Learn to just listen. Learn to just observe. Learn to just sit silent and not have a thought or a perspective or a discussion. Learn sometimes to just mind your own damn business. And with that being said, I love you, smooches. I'll see y'all next time. Thank you for joining in on tonight's conversation. I hope we said something that was beneficial to you. And smooches, I will see you next time.
Thank you for joining She is Nemia tonight for another edition of High Heels and Lipstick Conversations. We hope you have enjoyed the dialogue. If you like what you've heard tonight, please press the like or love button. The share button is free too, y'all. You can follow She is Nemia on all social media platforms. And if you are feeling generous and would like to support High Heels and Lipstick Conversations, hit a sister up on her Cash App. $ She is Nemia. I appreciate the love, y'all. Please know the views and opinions expressed tonight are those of She is Nemia alone and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of any entity she represents. Also, music was provided by Upbeat Creators at upbeat.io. Smooches, until next time, y'all.